Welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. And I actually do have my coffee. I do. My busted up broken mug. I do. But I also have with me some water too in my Larry Sharp for Governor mugs. I have both of them. I am clearly hydrating to the best of my ability. I'm so happy you give me a chunk of your afternoon. I have with me someone who I'm very excited to have with me, someone who is from Maine. He is an author. He is an activist. He is an anti-war veteran. He is the chair of the Libertarian Party of Maine, the man himself, Harrison Kemp. How are you?
I am amazing. So happy to be here, Larry. Been a fan and a supporter for a long time. So it's great to finally get to talk with you about what we've got going on up here and let everyone else know about the hard work that we're doing.
Well, this is funny, right? So I know that Maine is very special in that it's Northeast, but it's not really urban, but there are urban centers. But it's very rural. So it's like, but everything. So it's like all the things.
It is all the things, and it's so spread out that you could do an event in the center of the state and it's still 4 hours for people to get to it from certain parts. And that's part of the reason that, you know, we've seen not only our party, but similar movements over the years struggle to get going is because of how spread out the state is. And we've really been trying to focus on the population centers and right around them as of late. And we've been seeing good success with it. There's a lot more libertarians in Maine than people like to think. And so we're tapping into that.
Well, you mentioned to me as we were chatting before the show began, the idea that, you know, there's a chance for you to get, if I remember right, you said permanent party status in Maine. That is a big deal. Something I wish I had in New York. I mean, really, that's a big deal. How do you make that happen in Maine?
So the way that we're trying to do it right now is by getting 10,000 registered voters by the end of the 2024 election cycle. So if we're able to get 10,000 for every presidential cycle from here forward, as long as we maintain that 10,000, our chairperson just has to sign a piece of paper to get the candidate for president on the ballot. Saves us $100,000, saves us thousands of hours of activist work, and lets us actually compete in the elections and start campaigning rather than just trying to make the ballot. And one thing that we have a bill right now that's looking to cut that number in half. So it would make it only 5,000. That actually made it out of committee a few weeks ago by 10-3. So it's looking really, really good when it makes it to the House and to the Senate for its full vote that it's going to pass. But we're not putting our eggs in that basket.
I'm sorry, in Maine, how many parties do you have that are actively working, right? Do you have an active Green Party? Like in New York State, when it comes to really independent parties, the only party that's doing anything right now really as an actual independent party is probably just Libertarians, if anything. The other two parties we have in New York State are really just, they're parasite parties, where they just do whatever the two major parties do. How about Maine? How does that look?
So we're pretty much the same way. We do have a Green Party that's on the registration cards. They are considered a permanent party, but that's because they used a little bit of trickery and they put Green Independent Party on the cards. So about, I'd say 75% of the folks you talk to who say, I'm an independent, they're actually Green independents and they don't know. But the Green Party doesn't run candidates. They don't do anything within the state. They don't take advantage of that. So it really is just the parasite parties, as you call them, who are, you know, really trying to do the same things at every step along the way. They fight on one bill when they have another bill that's kind of doing the same thing about what they're fighting on. And we see that whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, that we may be friends on an issue or a couple of issues, but at the end of the day, we just have such a different philosophy around what government should be and can be, that it's hard to get to a point where we all coexist, because we know that they're wrong and they think we're wrong, but they hold all the cards. So that's why it's so important that we get this permanent party status.
When you brought up the independent piece, Joe brings up, he says, Florida has an independent party that tricks voters into thinking they're registering no party. Yes. And New York has the same thing. So now in New York, I'm not joking, we have made it illegal for you to put the word independent or independence in your party name now. That's a recent law in New York State. You cannot put that. It's against the law in New York State to put the word independent or independence in your party now. Wow. I guess everyone's tricking people.
Yeah, we actually, when our bill was up, because we have a bill that's up to cut that number in half, like I said, and when that was on the floor for debate, one of the representatives asked if that could be an amendment, was we make it so no party can put independent and their name. And thankfully, the great Eric Brakey was like, nope, that's outside the scope. We're not really entertaining that right now. And we were able to move forward without anything like that being added. But yeah, they
Nice.
really do not like the idea of having independent people being able to voice their opinion. And it's a First Amendment issue at the end of the day. You know, you have the right to call your party
Yes.
what you want to call it. And that's really the end of it, or should be.
Brian actually said it right there. He goes, sounds like that law violates the First Amendment. Yeah, it does, but that's fine. It is what it is. This is New York State, Brian. Our first 10, the Bill of Rights, it's actually in New York State, the Bill of Suggestions. Just so you're aware, we don't have a Bill of Rights in New York State. New York State is the Bill of Suggestions. The Second Amendment,
the Bill of Things,
suggestion.
Say again? The Bill of Things you could pay a lot of money to get a license for.
There we go. Yes.
Down to.
That's what, yes. The Bill of Things you could pay to have as a privilege. Correct. There we go. Yes. That's what they should call it. The Bill of Things you can pay to have as a privilege, but we can still take it away. So yeah, either way, that's what it is. It's a perfect point. But the thing that I'm happy about now is, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, and that's one of the things that's so great about Maine, and one of the things about Maine that really kind of makes it the home for what could be a really good freedom movement, is that we already have really great gun laws. We have really great laws on things like filming the police or how you can talk to your government officials. You know, we have rules and laws here that really do a lot of times respect the individual. You know, we do have, like everywhere, taxes that are a little bit too high. We've got some things going on with surveillance and whatnot that shouldn't be. We're not perfect, but that's why we need folks who are able to join the fight. And even if they don't agree with us 100%, you know, if we have a couple things we agree on, let's form a coalition and move forward on it. And that's what we've been successful on. You know, we were actually able to ban no-knock warrants a few years back in 2020. And
nice.
We did that with the help of a Democrat and a couple of Republicans. And we were able to get this thing done that, you know, most states across the country, when you say, yeah, we got rid of no-knocks, they go, how, why? Insane, not possible.
So let me bring that up, because you bring up a very valid point. The point that I keep bringing up, the glory of what the Libertarian Party becomes by default is the peacemaker. We become the people who both sides can go to, right? Because if a Republican goes talks to a Democrat, well, he's evil, he loses the seat. If a Democrat goes talk to a Republican, he's evil, he loses the seat. But both can talk to libertarians. Libertarians can be the middle ground, and by default, the bridge builders and the peacemakers. And I think this is a great example of that. People getting together from both sides to get something done. I love that story. Great story. I appreciate you telling me.
Yeah, it really is. And that's what we try to do here, is build coalitions and, you know, really just move the needle forward, because it's such an uphill battle. You know, we had about 2,000 bills go into our legislature for debate and consideration this year. And there's so many bills that we can't keep up with them all. So just trying to have our slice of good that we're doing, it does make a big difference at the end of the day. Little chunks at the end of the day, they can really help build the world that you want your kids to live in, your grandkids to live in, and that you think we should live in.
There's something else you're bringing up here, Harrison, is that the little chunk is what makes somebody now believe that there can be a bigger chunk, right? The bigger chunk seems like it's impossible. I can never get the big chunk. That's impossible. Oh, wait, I got a little chunk. Maybe it gives someone the hope, right, that the little victory can make bigger victories. I think that's another great piece. So,
and after we got rid of no-knock warrants up here, you know, I helped a lot of states draft legislation, and they were all just so amazed that we were able to get it done. And yes, it's a difficult process, but at the same time, it's not that hard if you know what you're doing. You know, it's very stressful, but the steps to it are not hard.
There we go. Raymond writes, and he says, we have a very active and strong chapter of GOA in Maine, which I'm a fan of GOA. I'm not a big NRA fan, and some people get mad at me when I say that, but I'm not a big fan, but I like GOA. For those who don't know, GOA is Gun Owners of America. So I'm a big fan of GOA, not a huge fan of NRA. All I would say is you do you, but my choice is GOA. So do they chat with you? Are you connected to GOA at all, Harrison?
So we're not connected with GOA, but we do have some members who are GOA members, and anytime we see them at events, we're very friendly with each other.
Got it.
We definitely view them as a lot better than the NRA, and as someone that is actually fighting to do a lot of the same things we're fighting to do here. And they
There we
call
go.
people on their baloney, whether they're on the left, the right, wherever they are. They are very principled when it comes to what they believe in. So yeah, I support them. I don't want to say we as a party do, because we don't have any official affiliation with them.
Sure.
But whenever we see them at events, we're like, yeah, they're here, cool. So we know we're in the right spot.
So let me do a little bit of admin. Guys, if you like what we're talking about, then do me a favor, click that like button now. The like button does matter. Please click it if you can. Let people know that this is going on. If you're watching this on Twitter, please retweet this so others can also see this. It does matter. It's how we get past the algorithms. So please do that. Swap it on Twitter if you can. And of course, if you're watching on Facebook, please share it into a group that you think is important that might want to see this. It does matter, absolutely. Now, you brought up, Harrison, the registration drive. You said you have to get right now 10,000 registered libertarians. You're raising money for that right now, right? You said you've already raised some.
Yeah, so we started a registration drive, a fundraiser drive last year. And what we're trying to do is raise about $100,000, so that way we can afford all the resources and we can afford to pay the people who are going out, because it's very time consuming. We need about 8,000 registered voters as it is right now. So that's a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of gas, and a lot of data, printing out of lists, etc. So trying to have a nice war chest, that way we can just do it in one foul swoop. What we're looking to do.
So by what time do you have to have this done? What's your cutoff date that you have to have it done by?
Yeah. So it's the Tuesday of the presidential election in 2024 is our cutoff.
Oh, okay. That's the cutoff. Yeah. Got it. Okay, good. So guys, if you want to help him out, there's two things you can do. You can follow Harrison on Twitter if you want to, at Kemp for Maine on Twitter, or if you want to directly, head over to the LP Maine's actual website if you want to, at lpme.org. You can see what they're doing. You can also, if you want to, donate. Look, if you live in Maine and you care about liberty, you probably should be supporting this party right now, this movement specifically. This could set up Maine to have a real independent libertarian party in perpetuity if we do it right this time. So if you can support them, head over to lpme.org to check out what they're doing. If you want to check out Harrison, Kemp for Maine on Twitter. And 4 is, if you're listening to this, FOR, not the number. So Kemp for Maine. So with that in mind, 2024, big deal in Maine for us in 2024, because many people don't know this, but Maine breaks up its electoral votes, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we have 2 congressional districts here. We've got one in the north and one in the south. And kind of the easy way to think about the line is it's right near Augusta, which is about just a little north of halfway, I'd say. And north, we have one big population center, which is Bangor. And then in the south, we have Portland. And then Augusta is also in the south. But the northern part is much more red, that tends to vote more conservative leaning. Whereas in the South, they tend to vote more blue, a Democrat, progressive. So these days, there's really 2 schools of thought on which one could you win, because the North is much more rural. It's very difficult to get to folks, and there's only one good population center. So a lot of the presidential candidates that I've spoken with who are planning to come to Maine plan on really trying to win CD1, that southern part. And it's because it's so much, it's so much easier to door knock. So much easier to get people out to events because of the amount of people there. And it really is going to come down to what kind of libertarian the presidential candidate is and how they want to pitch themselves as to which way they go. I've been telling them, go where you feel most comfortable, because I think we can win either one.
That.
And so I think if we go into a spot where, if we've got someone who's a little more on the right and they're trying to pitch to the left, it's not going to be as genuine, and they're going to notice that, and vice versa. So I really think we have a path to victory either way. Republicans are tired of going back and forth between bad candidates that they call rhinos, and the Democrats, a lot of them, they're just tired of this insanity going on down south with the COVID stuff that's still going on, the vaccines that are still being
going
pushed.
on. You're exactly right. Yes.
And it's insane. 3 years ago that was going on, and it's still going on. And
so
they're just really tired of the money too.
I want to show, if I could, real fast. This is the districts like that. They do it right.
That looks perfect. Yep.
Yeah, and the second district is obviously a whole lot bigger. Wow, physically. So I see your point.
Yes, population-wise, it's got less people though. We're just about the same, but not by much. And so yeah, it's a very difficult area to break into because you've got towns that are only a couple thousand people. And
so hold on. So Maine has 3 electoral votes or 2?
2. Each one gets 1 vote.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So the idea is that a Libertarian presidential candidate would focus their time on only one of those districts, hoping to win one of those districts to get electoral vote. Yeah. You know what? I could see why, just for the optics, why someone would want to go for the District 2, because it's physically bigger on the map, right? So it would look bigger on the map. I get the optics of it, but yeah, I see your point. Having to cover all of that, covering all of that space and time just seems really challenging. Really challenging. I don't know. Do you have a view on either one of them yourself?
Yeah, I think that we would have an easier time in conversations with people in the North because they don't get visited by political parties that much. So if we're there talking to them, that's already a win for us. But I do think it would be very, very difficult to get a meaningful number of conversations that could lead to a victory, just because the population's so spread out. Which is why I think down south we have a much better chance. Plus, we've got several states that we can draw support from for door knocking events and whatnot, because we've got Massachusetts, New York isn't that far away, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island. We can draw folks from those states to come up for big events and help out too. So I think the southern portion of the state is going to be where we end up focusing. And I know Lars Mapstead, who was one of the candidates on your show, that said he wanted to focus on Maine. He's really excited about that southern portion. And so if he was to get that nomination, then we would definitely be focusing on the southern portion. And I just need to correct myself real quick, because it is 3 votes, not 2. So the winner gets 2 and the loser gets 1. So just wanted to correct myself.
So it's 3 electoral votes, and then whoever. So is it? Hold on, it's 3 electoral votes. But what if the person wins the whole state plus those 2? Did they get all 3?
Yes, so you could feasibly get all 3, but realistically, it's much harder, because you're going to end up having the northern portion that's different from the southern. So, yeah, they tend to split votes.
So the odds are the Republican gets the north, the Democrat gets the south, and then whoever wins the whole state gets the extra one.
I've never seen it happen that way. I wouldn't be sure how that would happen out. That would happen and work out. Yeah. Usually it's so clear cut, Donald Trump gets 46 and Joe Biden gets 48. So he gets, the most, and then Trump gets 1. So, but yeah, we're hoping to muck that up and make them figure out how to deal with that this year. So, and it really does kind of come down to throwing a monkey wrench into the system, because the system is so broken that in order for us to be able to play in it, they don't even take us into account most of the time, a third party at all, because they just say, their rules for committees and whatnot, some of them sometimes will say, whoever has the most, and then the second most, and that doesn't say anything about the third most. And
at all.
So they don't want, in a lot of ways, they really don't plan on having any competition or another party involved at all. And so that's what we're trying to do, is show folks there's a different way. And really, it doesn't matter what event we're at. Everybody we talk to, for the most part, is like, yeah, that's what I agree with. I'm with you on that. So
now
I think we've got a really good future.
Jeremy says it's 4. Jeremy says,
well, Jeremy is my data guy. So if Jeremy says 4, then he's right.
Oh, okay. Jeremy says 1 per district, then 2 for the popular vote.
Yep. If Jeremy says it, that's right. Jeremy is my data guy. He's the one breaking this stuff down. If he says it, I have full confidence.
Done and done. There we go. So there we go. So it's possible that we could get 1, but then if we could win the entire state, we can get 4 if we won the whole state. Got it. Okay. That's clear.
Could happen. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to say Jeremy popping in and helping me out like that is part of another thing that makes us so different and such a good team up here, and why I have so much confidence that we're going to get this done, because on the spot, a member of my team was able to give the right info, help me out. And it's because we make time for the things that are important. You're right. Like right now, yes. I'm on my lunch break from work right now, and making time for this because it's one of the most important things that I can do to help us out. Jeremy's taking time out of his day to fact check me as I'm going along. We've got other members of the XCOM and leadership team that are watching and sharing and whatnot right now too. So
well, Jeremy goes on long. You're right. He is the data guy. He says Trump won CD2, so that's why Biden got 3 and Trump got 1. There we go. He's explained it all for us. Well done, Jeremy. Thank you. Now we get it. Done deal. That was easy. But we have a question for you. Brian asks, will Maine be using ranked choice voting in the presidential election? Do you know if that's a thing for you guys in Maine for presidential election?
Yeah, it most definitely is a thing for us in presidential elections and in federal elections, not with state elections. So things like state house, state senate. It was found to be constitutional for federal elections, not state elections. So that's the breakdown.
That's kind of weird.
It is. It somehow violates our state constitution to have them, but it doesn't violate the federal constitution. It's all very, it just doesn't make sense the way that they try to explain it. But yeah, you get to use it for president, Senate, Congress, all on the federal level, but not state elections. Now you do get to use it in primaries for state elections, but not in generals. So
yeah. We have that here in New York City. We can use ranked choice voting in the primaries in New York City, but that's it.
Yeah, very convoluted.
I don't get it at all. Absolutely. So yeah. Michael says, Harrison Kemp has done a tremendous job in our state. Highly recommend his book, Closing Liberty for All Activists on Limit. You have a book too. That's right. You're an author. Where can we get your cool book?
Yeah, you can get it right on Amazon. It's Closing Freedom by Harrison Kemp. It's a book on how to make phone calls, how to talk to people at events, how to send emails, all those fun things we don't always like to do, but are very, very important if we're going to have a chance at succeeding. And it's one of those things where I'm a salesman by trade. I talk to people for a living. And I've noticed that, when you don't know how to talk to people or you talk to them awkwardly at events, you're done before you start. So yeah, just a couple of little tips and tricks that you can use at events to help you get over the awkwardness. And, it's not going to change your whole personality and take you from an extrovert or from an introvert to an extrovert. But if you're someone who's like, I just wish I knew what to say, here's a place to get started.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to follow Harrison, please do so. You can follow him on Twitter at Kemp for Maine on Twitter, or just head on over to the Libertarian Party of Maine's website, which is LPME.org, to see what they're doing and to help them on the registration drive. They have a registration drive. They have to get 10,000 registered libertarians by November of next year, November of 2024. They got to raise 6 figures. They got to do it. They've been raising a bunch already, but they need more. If you could put something on it, particularly if you live in Maine. If you live in Maine and you're not donating, what is wrong with you? You got like a mental problem, guy. If you live in Maine, give them some money. You got to do that. Now, if you say, Larry, you're talking trash because I don't have that much money. Okay. If you don't have that much money, that's okay. Still reach out and tell them how you can volunteer. If you don't have that much cash, he still needs door knockers. He still needs people who can drive. He still needs people who can be his social media warriors. He needs people who can share stuff on Facebook, make memes. The meme wars are real. So those also matter. everything. If you live in Maine, why wouldn't you be helping them out? If you don't live in Maine, if you think this matters, if you think it's important, then support LPME.org, or just follow Kemp for Maine on Twitter, and check out his book. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. Leela says, this is a guest who should be reinvited. He clearly knows how to sell freedom. Look at you winning. Look at you. You got fans here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I like that. You got fans. So, Lars came on. You talk about Lars. Lars going to, he says, I donated to Maine. Let's go. It's a good cause. Let's win in Maine. So you talk about Lars. He's actually watching. He's saying how he donated. So yes, absolutely. 100%. Joe goes on to say, Maine has legal cannabis, better gun laws, and RCV. Maine, my Florida. I like that. There we go. Is he right? Is that true? Do you have, is Joe correct? Joe's from Florida. Is what he's saying correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have, the best gun laws. We've got legal weed everywhere. And not only do we have, legal cannabis everywhere, but we have a very neat system for cannabis in our state. And our legislative director is actually one of the people who helped lead that fight to get legal cannabis in the state and to make it what it is today. So, as a party, not only are we very happy that we have it, but we're very happy that we have one of the people that was able to get it for us on our team.
I love that. It's amazing. So tell me, what's the future of Maine when it comes to candidates and when it comes to laws you think that are liberty leaning this year and next? You got any predictions, any things? What's going on?
Mm-hmm. So what I am expecting is that we get our minor party protection bill passed, which is the one that cuts the required number of registered voters in half. And
down to 5,000.
We're down to 5,000, correct. Yep. And so if we do that, then it's a drop in the bucket. We're almost there to get our permanent party status. Mm-hmm. Once we do, then once we figure out whoever the candidate is at the national level, we don't have to do any door knocking. We don't have to get signatures. I just have to sign a piece of paper and they're on the ballot. And nice. Then we get to, work with their team and figure out how do they want to go about campaigning. And depending on how much time they're putting in our state, kind of go through a little transformation to work with them and figure out how to best support whoever that candidate is. Because that's really going to be our number one goal is our having the presidential candidate help the down ballot candidates and bring notice to them. Because we're trying to get people to run for state house, state senate, and other partisan positions all around the state. It's a lot easier
when you have ballot access and a popular presidential candidate. I agree completely, right? You really
is.
I mean, I know a lot of libertarians, they fight one way or the other. They go, well, only local matters, or well, only the big races matter. I think they all matter. I think you want to have the big, good presidential race and the governor race and all the big races, realizing that the odds are they're not going to win. I mean, we all hope they win, right? But the odds are they're not going to win, but they can get press. They can get, some prestige. They can get us ballot access, all those types of things. So now we're supporting the down ticket candidates who have an actual shot at winning. I think that's, a better shot at winning, right? A better shot at winning. I think it's absolutely true. I love the idea, the way you're thinking. In my view, I'm biased. I think that's exactly the right way of thinking, right? You want to do both. They both matter, recognizing the top of the ticket has the best chance for press and the bottom of the ticket has the best chance for victory, but they're all important. I think you're totally correct. Yep. By the way, Dwayne did a super chat. Thank you, Dwayne. $2. And his super chat was another tagline: Maine is the South in the North. But I'm bumped. So yes, I don't know if that was good, but he paid $2 for it. So I was gonna do the rim shot. So there we go. So yes.
Well, appreciate the $2.
We absolutely.
We are the easternmost point in the continental United States, and it makes us different because, like you said, we don't have a lot of those cities like you would expect for a East Coast. Like you think of East Coast, think of Florida, Massachusetts, Boston.
Yep.
But we really don't have much of that, and so we try to take advantage of the few population centers that we do have. And so especially if you live in Augusta, if you live in Bangor, if you live in the Portland area, York area, make sure you're reaching out to us to get involved because
there we go.
I know you feel like you're on an island sometimes out there, but we're around and we're trying to put on more and more events. And the more folks that come out of the woodwork, the easier it is to put on more and more events. And it's always hard when you try to get something going in an area and there's one or two people that show up for 3 meetings in a row. You get discouraged, then they don't happen for a while. But we're trying to end that trend. So if you're tired of being one of those 2 or 3 people that show up, come back out, bring a friend, bring some family. Let's make it happen, because it really does have to start at the local level and build up. That's how we all got to where we're at, and how we figured out the political world is by starting local and building our way up. And now we're trying to fix the system. So we're very excited, and yeah.
I love it. So guys, if you like what you're seeing, do me a favor, click that like button. It does matter. If you want to, if you're watching this on Facebook, share it into another group if you're a part of a group, or if you're watching on Twitter, you can always retweet this. All good. So before we wrap this up, Harrison, anything I missed, something that I didn't discuss that we should have discussed?
I don't think so. I think we got everything. Really, the biggest things, again, is the registration drive. Help us out with that. If you want to donate to it, every $8 roughly gets one person registered. That's about what it costs for the whole process. So if you're thinking about making a donation and you're like, I don't have much, $8 is all it takes to help make a difference. And then if you want to make more of a difference, you can become a member for $25 at LPME.org. And you can also check out the calendar, see all the fun stuff we have going on. And we've got our convention coming up on June 10th. So we're looking forward to that. I know we've got a couple of guest speakers that are going to be coming up, and looking forward to having a really fun, really big event and kicking off the long road to 2024, as we call it.
There we go. I love it. Harrison, thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. I really appreciate your time, and it was nice talking with your audience.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Again, remember, it's Kemp for Maine on Twitter. The details are in the description on both YouTube and Facebook, or lpme.org to support this massive campaign. I will see you all very soon.